Assalamu alaikum, my beautiful kids. I hope you all are doing well. This is your biology miss, Miss Aksa. So today we are gonna learn about the structure of the animal in the plant cell in more detail. In your last class or in your last lesson, we just discussed about the plant cell and the animal cell. The main structure we discussed is about the cell wall and the cell membrane. And what is the main difference between cell wall and cell membrane? We also discussed about the nucleus. So nucleus is present basically both in plant cell as well as in animal cell. It is present where? In both the plant cell and the animal cell. So what is the function of the nucleus? So nucleus basically we call them, it is the house of the DNA. Okay, so where basically our chromosome will organize and then they will form the nucleolus where the ribosome synthesis occur. Ribosome, what is the ribosome? Ribosome is a structure which is present inside the cell. Okay, this is the cell and that's the nucleus. Over here they have the ribosome. So ribosome consists of two parts basically, one and 2. Okay, so ribosome consists of one small subunit and one large subunit. What is the ribosome? Ribosome is, we can say, this is the site of what? Protein synthesis. Okay, where protein synthesis will occur, where it will occur? In the ribosome. Okay, so nucleus is the one which control or which contain all the genetic information in the form of DNA, chromosomes. And this nucleus is surrounded by a membrane, what we call them, the nuclear membrane or nuclear envelope. And this you can see the dense part, what we call them, the denser part, this is basically what? Nucleolus. And they have these tiny pores, we call them as nuclear pores. So this is basically the structure of what? Nucleus. It is present in animal cells as well as in the plant cell. Make sure on the basis of nucleus we classified the organisms into two categories, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are those they do not have a well defined nucleus, but eukaryotes are those they have a well defined nucleus. You can say this is the structures are clearly well defined. Okay, they have their DNA, chromosome, and it is surrounded by this nuclear envelope. So this is a well defined nucleus. So this type of nucleus present where? In case of eukaryotes. Okay, eukaryotes. And the other types, what is that? Prokaryotes, they do not have this well defined nucleus. It means they have the genetic material but it is not surrounded by this nuclear membrane. So this is all about the nucleus. Cytoplasm, as I told you, this is the cell membrane, this is the nucleus, and this central portion, what we call them, cytoplasm. What is that? Cytoplasm. It is also present in both the animal cell as well as in plant cell. What is the function? The main function of the cytoplasm is basically mostly the metabolic pathways will occur where? In this cytoplasm. Then chloroplast. Chloroplast is basically a structure which is present only where? In the plant cell. Because of the chloroplasts, plants, they have the magical power. They can perform the process of photosynthesis. Why they are able to perform the process of photosynthesis? Because of the chloroplast. You know why the chloroplast contain a green color pigment, we call them as a chlorophyll, and because of this chlorophyll what the plants looks like a green in color. So chloroplast function is to perform what? Photosynthesis. Plants, they are able to make their own food, they are able to prepare their own food. But how the plant they are able to make their own food? They can perform a process, we call them as what? Photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the procedure where plants they can prepare their own food by using sunlight. We will discuss in detail what is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process where plants they will use sunlight to make their food. What is the food of the plants? That is glucose. Right, correct. So plants they are able to make their food. But why? How the plants they are able? Because they have the specific structure, the specific organelle, what we call them chloroplast. Okay, it is present in the plant cell, but it is also present in some algae. In some algae or algae, you can pronounce that. They also have chloroplast. It means if they have chloroplast, they are also able to do the photosynthesis. Okay. So, but the chloroplast, okay, they contain this sac-like structure. You can see this sac-like structure. What we call them? thylakoids. What we call them? Thylakoids. Yes, this is the thylakoids stalked into the grana, and this is surrounded by a layer. We call them as what? The stroma. Okay, and the chloroplast, they have their own DNA and ribosomes. Keep it in mind. In your IGCSE exam, if they will ask you what is the structure which is present inside the cell, they have their own DNA, that is chloroplast, because they have their own DNA and ribosome. It means they are able to make their own protein. Okay, but in the animal cells it is not present, so that's why we are not able to perform photosynthesis, right? Therefore they do not have chloroplast. Okay, ribosomes over there, I discussed you the ribosome. Ribosome is what? It is the site of protein synthesis. What is the ribosome? Ribosome is the site of protein synthesis. What is ribosome? The site of protein synthesis means that specific part where protein synthesis will occur. It is basically the site of protein synthesis. This is the main function of ribosome, and it is very important. Okay, ribosome is present in plant cell as well as in animal cell, so it is present in both, right? That's why we are able to make our protein, same like the plants. They are able to make their protein, whatever they need, they are able to make it. Why? Because they have the ribosomes in their structure. Correct? Okay, and ribosome structure, if you talk about the structure of the ribosome, it is composed of RNA and protein. Okay, it is composed of RNA and protein, but the chloroplast have their DNA. Now the question is, what is the difference between DNA and RNA? We will discuss this difference in detail, but let me tell you, DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is basically that type of double stranded, but RNA is a ribonucleic acid and it consists of only one strand. Okay, DNA is double helical structure. It consists of double strands, and RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. It consists of only single strands, and protein found either floating freely in the cytoplasm or bound to the endoplasmic reticulum. Function I already told you. Mitochondria. This is also very, 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 very important. Okay, what is the mitochondria? You can say mitochondria is basically powerhouse of the cell. Can I say this is what? This is the powerhouse of the cell. You can say this is the kitchen of the cell. Okay, why? Because in mitochondria is that specific organelle where they will make energy. Okay, they will produce their energy. They will provide the energy. Why? Because mitochondria is that specific structure where what will happen? There is a very specific procedure will occur. What we call them? Respiration. Respiration. What is respiration? Respiration is the process where glucose molecule will break down to give us energy in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so respiration is the procedure where glucose molecule will break down and give us energy in the form of ATP, and this procedure will occur where? Inside the mitochondria. Mitochondria is also the organelle of the cell. The structure of the mitochondria will be like this, something like that. Sorry for my handwriting, but my drawing is very good. I'm saying, okay, the something like that. Okay, so the inner portion we call them as a cristae, and the outermost membrane and the inner membrane. This is the structure. Okay, over here you can see the clear structure. Okay, inside the mitochondria you can see they have their ribosomes. This is the mitochondrial DNA. Okay, ribosomes are there, and this folding structure we call them as a cristae. Okay, they have this inner membrane and they have the outermost membrane. Okay, just keep it in mind, they have inner membrane, outer membrane. What are the cristae? And the ribosomes are present on the surface. Now, okay, this is present both in animals and the plant cell. What is vacuole? Vacuole, basically, let me draw a structure of a plant cell. This is the basically uh, the outermost layer. We can say that will be the cell wall. This is the cell wall. This one is the cell membrane. Okay, so they have a very large vacuole. This is what? Vacuole. Over here they have the nucleus, and the plants also have what? Chloroplast. Okay, and they have ribosomes. This is, I'm drawing the ribosome. This is the central portion. We call them as what? Cytoplasm. This is vacuole. Okay, and plants have many chloroplasts, not even one, so many chloroplasts are there. This is also what? Chloroplast. This is also what? Chloroplast. And they also have a specific organelle, what we call them? Mitochondria, okay, where respiration will occur. And this is the vacuole. So this large structure, what we call them, that is the vacuole. It is present in plant cell. Okay, the animal cell, they also have a structure like the vacuole, but we cannot say that is the vacuole. This is a very tiny structure. We call them as a vesicles, okay, that contain the waste material. So the function of the vacuole is they stores the water, nutrients, and the waste products, and it contribute to the cell rigidity when full aging in structure and sport. Animal cell, they have a very smaller vacuoles, okay, but we call them as what? Vesicles. Okay, so this is the comparative overview. Let me explain what is the difference between animal cells and the plant cell. Vacuole is only present where? In the plant cell. It is not present in the animal cell. Mitochondria, we call them as a powerhouse of the cell because the cellular respiration is the procedure which is occur where? In the mitochondria, right? And it is present in both the animal cell and the plant cell. So what is respiration? This is the procedure where glucose molecule will break down to give us energy in the form of ATP, right? We will discuss this respiration in next chapter number 11, inshallah, in detail. But till now you have to know about the cell organelles and their main structure and function. This is the important thing you have to know. Ribosome is also present both in animal cell and the plant cell. What is that? This is the site of the protein synthesis. What is the ribosome? The site of protein synthesis. Ribosome consists of two subunit. One is the large subunit and the other one is the smaller subunit. Okay, chloroplast is only present in plants, but in some algae they also have the chloroplast. Animal cell, they don't have a chloroplast. That's why we are not able to perform photosynthesis. If the plants, they have chloroplast, so they can perform which process? Photosynthesis. It means they are able to prepare their own food. Cytoplasm present in both. This is basically the jelly-like structure, and the site of different metabolic pathway is the cytoplasm. The nucleus is the main organelle, we can say, which control the genetic information. So we spoke about two different type of organism, the eukaryotes, and the other one is prokaryotes. Prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are those, they do not have well defined nucleus. Eu basically means true. It means they have a well defined nucleus. Well defined means a completely well structured nucleus. You can see the nucleolus are there, nuclear pores, and then it is covered or surrounded by the nuclear envelope. So this is the well defined nucleus. So that is the nucleus of the eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, they do not have this nucleus. They have genetic material like this. Same like in bacteria. Bacteria are the prokaryotes. Next lesson, inshallah, we will discuss about the bacterial cell, and then you will clearly understand the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Then we discuss about the cell membrane, which is partially permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane, because it allows some substances, they can enter inside the membrane and they can move outside the membrane. Then we spoke about the cell wall. It is present only in the plant cell, but some other cells, they also have a cell wall. So cell wall is basically fully permeable. It will allow everything, they can enter inside the membrane and then they can move outside the membrane. This is all about the chapter number 2. If you still have any question, don't feel shy. Just write your question in the comment section. Okay, take care everyone. See you in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care everyone.